Most people remember me after the first time they meet me. Maybe it's because I'm really weird or because my hair is pink and purple. Although by the time you're listening to this, it probably won't be. Maybe it's because I have 6 nails and I cry over them and I talk about them a lot. My eccentricity wasn't really something that I'd noticed before the Enneagram told me that it was one of my key traits. And I don't know, that reinforcement made me more confident, like, oh yeah, I'm weird, like, really weird, but also, there's all these traits that I have too that I never noticed. And I have all these traits too that other people notice and appreciate in me. And I am just poetic and introspective, and I like to make sentimental messages out of nothing, especially the things I create, so it doesn't feel like I'm just feeding the void of voiceless entertainment. But maybe the Enneagram has done that for you too. I really hope so. Hello, Internet. My name is Ephie, and this is The Human Condition. What's up, guys? This is part 2 of my Enneagram series here on The Human Condition. If you haven't listened to the first part, go and do that. It's not as fun as this part, but it's definitely more educational, which, I don't know. I feel like that's a deterrent for getting you to listen to it, but listen to it anyway, or not. I guess you'll do what you want anyway. I'm actually really excited for this part. I got together 8 of my friends, plus myself, each one fitting into one of the 9 Enneagram types, and asked them all 10 questions about themselves and their feelings and fears and all that fun stuff. Every person in this episode is so individualistic while also fitting into their Enneagram types. Not even just their answers, but in their mannerisms, the way they articulate themselves, their syntax. So without further ado, let's just jump into it so you can see what I'm talking about. And of course, we're going in numerical order because who would I be if I didn't put it in numerical order?
Hi, my name is Mom, and I am Enneagram Type 1.
That is Mom, as in my mom. Hi, Mom. Honestly, when I started making this episode, I desperately needed someone to do the interview for Type 1. I couldn't find anyone, and Type 1s are not the type that really fit the bill for any of my close friends, or even potential friends. Sorry, Mom, I still love you and all of your oneness. I knew, though, I had a gut feeling that my mom would be a Type 1. I could feel it in my bones. So I called her and I asked her to take the test, and lo and behold, a Type 1 she was.
Hi, my name is Mom, and I am Enneagram Type 1. Okay, I like the word struggle better than fear, and I think I would say my biggest fear is not doing something right or doing it wrong.
Contrary to that, what is your biggest desire?
World peace. No. My biggest desire? My biggest desire is for my daughter to live a happy, fulfilled life, and that I can help her do that. In my opinion, the purpose of life is to serve and bring glory to God.
How do you generally feel about other people? Just like Blake and say, Blake, what are you trying to say?
I don't know.
A blanket
statement?
Yeah.
So what was it again? I generally like other people. Do you want to know why?
Why?
No, I mean, but I feel like I have a really good sense of people, so I can tell right away if they're not the best people. I generally feel good about myself, but I also feel like I have a lot to work on still. So I just focus on changing the things I know I want to change. I think I have good relationships with other people, although I'm not the type of person that needs or likes to have 100 friends. I'd rather have 2 or 3 really good ones. So I choose wisely, and those relationships I think are good. But so are my just average, what do you call that?
Like acquaintances?
Just real casual acquaintances. Those seem to be good too. You can take some of that out, right?
You're very articulate. I don't know why you'd want to take anything out.
Because I can think of the word acquaintances.
You couldn't think of the word blanket. It's okay. How well do you deal with stress / how do you deal with stress?
Okay, I'm going to have to say it depends on what's stressing me out. So if something major is happening that I can't control, then I tend to get a little more stressed than just everyday occurrences. But how I handle it is by prayer, through praying, because usually the big things are things I can't change by myself.
Describe yourself as best as you can so someone who doesn't know you can kind of get the gist of who you are.
I can kind of wrap that all up as saying I'm a Christian, as I think another Christian would know what I mean by that. It means that I'm working, or I should say living, to please God and transform my character. But on the side, I do like to knit. I like to do different kinds of crafts. I like to shop. I also like to read, and I like to get together with my daughter and do things. But yeah, more focused on just what I need to do as a person to be a better person. Talk about Stuart, the needy Velcro dog. No, actually, he's a good companion, and he scares everybody at the door, even though he's a scaredy cat. His bark sounds very ferocious. So we have a good relationship.
He's shaped like a sausage.
He lost weight. He lost weight. He's not spoiled at all.
What do you dislike?
About Stuart?
No. Poor dog.
I dislike fake people. I dislike certain foods. There's not a ton I don't like. I do not like bugs. I don't really like being outside because of my allergies and bugs. Plus, I always get bitten. But I'm pretty much like everything. I'm glad to be retired. I think God arranged things so that I could, get a job or go back to school and get a job as a teacher when I needed to, so I could stay on my daughter's schedule, but also gave me the opportunity to sing at church, which I love, and lead worship. And then he gave me the opportunity now to just kind of focus on Bible study and on doing some of the things I like to do. I don't want to get old. No. I'm pretty easygoing. Well, I'm not. I'm very much of an organizer. I'm very type A. I'm better than I used to be, but like 30 years ago. But I think that's a positive and a negative, right? Because in a lot of situations, you need a planner and someone who can get everything in order. And then it also drives people nuts.
What do you generally think of personality tests and why?
I think they're actually done, if people answer the questions honestly and know themselves well enough to answer the questions, I think they're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
As far as our general personality traits. But I think some people may not know themselves well enough to answer the questions to indicate who they really are.
They do say that 55% of the tests that people take are inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and I think that's why. Sometimes we think we're different than we truly are because we don't really want to look at who we truly are.
How do you feel about your Enneagram result?
So I think that's all really accurate because if I think it's right, even if it's not something that I want to do, I end up, I have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. So I actually think it's very accurate.
No, yeah, I read it. It's like, oh, that's my life.
Because yes, I am a perfectionist, which gets in my way sometimes.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Have a great day. I would just say it's really good to know who you are and then also acknowledge and be honest about who you are, because then you'll know what stuff you need to change and what you don't. And that, honestly, I think, though, only God can change us. So, in the end, it's about striving. For me, it's striving to be more of a reflection of Christ.
That's a very nice message, Mom.
Thank you.
I'll say goodbye.
Bye.
You mean to take that?
Yeah, go for it. This is Kyle, co-host of Awkward Segway and my friend by proxy. While I was trying to gather people for interviews, I pleaded with Twitter to give me to find someone that fit type 2. And unsurprisingly, Kyle showed up at my doorstep. Or in my mentions. Either way, he was a hero we all needed when it came to twos. I love Kyle, honestly. He's funny, he's sweet, he's personable, and also has a lot of stories, and was by far the longest interview that I had recorded, but it's fine. We had a good time.
You want me to say that?
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, my name is Kyle, and I'm an Enneagram type 2.
What is your biggest existential fear?
That's probably got to be not quite fitting into places. Because usually I can be like real socially awkward at times. Not know what to say, I just sit there. Just feeling like I belong, honestly, which I never had much problem with it. It's just feeling that way.
What is your biggest desire in life?
Money. That's
Money?
pretty much it.
What, in your personal opinion, is the purpose of life?
Most common thing you probably get would be like just happiness and just doing what you want.
That's not the most common thing I've gotten.
I don't know what the common is, honestly.
Just happiness, is that what you think?
Yeah, just living your life, doing what you please, be happy.
I like that. Very simple and succinct.
Oh, yeah. Whenever I meet new people, I'm one of those guys that is just, I don't think the negative. I'm just befriend everybody unless they prove otherwise. But other than that, I'm just commonly just a friendly guy. I'll just see the light and everything.
I can agree with that. So you don't really feel any animosity towards people just right off the bat in general?
Not generally.
You're the only one that has said that. Everyone else has been like, the human race is trash. Everyone sucks.
Love myself, I have my flaws. I normally just stick with them. I'm not a big person on change. That's probably one thing I'm not too big on myself on. But other than that, I feel myself. Normally, things I want to change, but really don't feel like doing. It's not easy, especially when you get on a day by day, do your thing. You get used to it.
How are your relationships with other people generally?
A lot of times, say people from work, whenever they talk to me, usually we won't badmouth each other, but then they're like, well, he's kind of a weird guy, but really though, he's just a cool kid. Just, he's weird at times. He says weird stuff, but other than that, everyone thinks good of me, really. Family-wise, I'm just an angel child. You ask anybody in my family, they're like, oh, no, he's a pure kid. They see stuff I do outside of family life, they're going to hate me. Jesus Christ, just wearing a mask. But, normally I just like people to see the good side of me. I'm not usually mean or anything like that, so I just tend to have a good example on people.
So you don't have any problems with being vulnerable or having distance?
Sometimes, but usually I can play them off and worry about the negative thoughts later. Pretty much how I deal with it.
That's actually my next question is how well do you deal with stress / how do you deal with stress?
Well, it's dependent on what level of stress. Let's say, remember a little recent, well not real recent, it was back in August. We had a death in the family and it took everyone hard. I was more just, when I was around all the family and everybody, I was just more, hey, joking and trying to get them feeling better. Stress, that kind of stress, I'll deal with when I'm alone. That's just something I'm used to doing. Emotions will fly out every once in a while, but normally I'll stick to it myself. Handling work stress, I work 12-hour night shifts, and my sleep schedule's all out of whack. A lot of that work stress is normally when something's going on at work. Sometimes I can take it very terribly, but I can say I'm very moderate at times with stress management.
You tend to put other people before yourself?
A lot of times. That's just something I've always done. I can be considered pretty much a shut-in. I don't like to go out unless I'm hanging out with friends or going to get something to eat. Or I can stay inside for large amounts of times and not care. That's just, I'm more comfortable in my own house. Likes, movies and games. I can just sit there hours playing games or just listen to a movie or something. Anything that it really draws down to anything I can do in quietness. I don't have much talents.
Everyone has talents. My talent is I can touch my nose with my tongue.
I can't do that, unfortunately. Well, a talent I used to have, I'm way out of practice. I was downstairs, this was years and years ago. I had an old BB gun that I just kept shooting, got really good with. And I was telling my dad and his friends, like, yeah, I can shoot that can off the thing without even aiming down the sights. Not even like at my hip. I was, no, you can't. I was like, all right. First shot, boom, dead center. And they're like, holy crap. So just, that was pretty much a talent. I don't know if I can do it anymore. I built a bunch of those little Gundam models.
Oh.
And I have just cases, like a whole big case full of them. My grandparents actually visited me earlier today. They were just sitting there talking to him. They're like, oh, those are all the toys you built? And I was like, they're not toys, they're display figures. But yeah, sure, that's what I did. That's all of them. It's not as hard as you think, but good Lord, it needs patience. It takes me a good maybe month or so to finish this one. Current career, I can actually just put this one into a dream job because, I mean, I work around hot metal. It's just hellish. It's horrible. It wears me out every night. But pay, people, and just the environment around it's pretty cool. I've been there almost 5 years now, and I really haven't thought of anywhere else to go. I started there right after I'd graduated, and honestly, it's a factory job. I wouldn't expect myself to be anywhere near a factory job like that. But my dad is the floor boss at maintenance there. So that was one of the easiest ways to get in for me because everyone knew him. And they're like, okay, cool, we'll put him in. And I've just been there ever since. For the future, because we've been doing Awkward Segway now for over a year now, doing more than that. And I had an idea mid last year that I haven't really got onto yet. Doing like a separate, I think we're not doing the same channel or a separate channel where I'm going to try and do an abridged series.
I watched Connor's first...
or Heaven's Lost Property abridged.
Yes.
I got so hard. I wanted the girls in it because I was late to the meeting about whose characters who. So I heightened my voice the best I could, and we pitched the crap out of it. You can definitely tell. I've been stuck on the script right now on that for well over a year now. And I'm on the last page of it. I just need to finish it and get all the editing and all that kind of stuff. Then we should be ready to do it. It's something definitely I wanted to try again since we did the Heaven's Lost Property abridged. Because always, abridging stuff has always been just a real cool idea to me. Some of the funniest stories I've ever had, from my childhood, is interactions with my dad. Because he never tells me, sits me down and this is why you don't do this. For example, play with gas and a lighter. He's like, come downstairs real quick. I want to show you something. So we had a small little jerry can, and he just poured some on the ground and lit it. He goes, that's why you don't play with this stuff, because it can burn anything down. I look over and say like that, and the nozzle of the can's on fire. He just, and just tosses it, and we just watch it burn. And he just looks at me and goes, you're exactly right. Then there was that time I nearly exploded because he mixed 2 types of oil, like motor oil and some kind of oil together, and poured it all over a bonfire. He gave me the stick and told me to toss it on there and light it. I didn't hear toss, so I just walked up on it and tapped it. It just engulfed my arm in flames. It just singed all my hair, though.
That sounds very southern. No offense.
Oh, no, we're not very slow in Georgia, but good Lord, we're definitely southern.
Things like that don't happen out here. Just saying. What do you generally think of personality tests?
Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, yeah, sure. Personality tests you see on YouTube, this mine's this. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. You just answer a bunch of questions. But a lot of times I'll get bored enough to be like, you know what? That sounds exactly like me. Everything I did that's pretty much key. Like this test you got me to do. Enneagram, was it, test?
Yeah.
I did it on my first break the other night, and I was just like, this is actually pretty true.
How do you feel about your Enneagram result and why?
Caretaker-wise, I like the help. Give all I can to do what I can. A lot of times, I do what I can to really just lighten somebody's mood. Mm-hmm. Say something stupid or just do something, interact with them.
So you generally feel like it's accurate? You're not mad about it?
Oh, no, it's pretty accurate.
Is there anything else you want to say about life to the people that might listen or might not? Who knows? Anything you want to say to sign off?
Whatever makes you happy, do it. Just go on and do it. Everyone's going to say it, but this is me saying it. If you're happy with it, keep doing it. Change how you like. If you don't, good for you. Also, listen to Awkward Segway. It's a fun show. That's pretty much it.
Just virtually slap me in the face. It's all good.
With my color-coded notes that you can't see.
Exactly.
I'll send you a picture. They're beautiful. Ah, yes. This is the Connor Adams, the one I talk about all the time. Connor is honestly one of my best friends. He is so supportive of me and all my creative ventures, and vice versa. There's an episode of Awkward Segway where I very drunkenly rambled on about how much I loved him and his content. I also said I'd blow up the moon, but that's a different story. Anyway, Connor is funny, charming, hardworking, very expressive, and very good in entertainment. That's why when he messaged me and told me he was a 3, I was not surprised at all. Also, regardless of his Enneagram type, he was going to be in this episode. He's in most everything I create that requires other people. Anyway, take it away, Connor, an alternate timeline me.
Hi there, my name's Connor Adams, and I'm Enneagram Type 3.
What is your biggest, existential fear?
Woo, alright, starting off powerful. I think my biggest existential fear is being forgotten. I want to leave my impact on the world, be it through stupid comedy as I'm attempting to do, but I think that's one of my biggest fears, just never really measuring up, being forgotten even in the current times. We're losing whatever I used to be, whoever I am today, what makes me essentially. I think my deepest desire in life would be to make as many people laugh as possible. It's something that makes me feel good, and if it makes other people feel good, that's awesome. It's just even for just that one moment when you hear you raise someone's spirit on a shitty day. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, good.
It's like you don't even know me, fuck. Alright.
In my personal opinion, the grand overall scheme of life, I guess it's to make your own meaning. I don't believe... Well, at this current state, I am a constantly shifting philosophical mess. I'm also just a regular mess. As I currently stand, I don't think the world really has any intrinsic meaning to it or behind it. I think it's just to make your own meaning as you go along. Find your own joy, essentially. Carve your own path. It's all up to you. I like other people in general. I have I guess you could call it middle child syndrome. I have that desire to have people pay attention to me, which is sprawled out into the desire to make other people like me, which I've been working on for a long time. I'm more comfortably at a place where I could say I really don't care if everybody doesn't like me. I'm past that. It's I like people overall. Well, there's some idiots. You can generalize as people. People are terrible. But individuals, they're good. I like people.
How do you generally feel toward yourself?
Oh, we're opening all the cans of worms. All right. Towards myself, I generally feel... This is hard to answer. I've recently, as of 2 days ago at this point, have started down kind of a more positive self-improvement path that I'm trying to set for myself. I don't know. I used to say that nobody hates me more than I do, because I feel like I look a lot into my own past as I wasn't a great person in the past. I'll be the first to admit it. I was kind of a little shit.
I don't think anyone was a good person in their past. Everyone was a teenager, and all teenagers suck.
Generally, I think I accept myself now. I think I'm flawed, definitely flawed, as much as I like to give off my flawless air. I am definitely not perfect. I think I'm a flawed person, but who isn't? I like myself overall. I think I'm a decent guy, and I keep striving to be an even more decent guy, so other people will eventually agree.
I think you're a decent guy. You're one of my favorite people.
You're my favorite people. I am a very open person when it comes to feelings, especially, mainly platonic feelings and things outside of that. I get along okay with my family. I'd say I have a tendency to place more priority on my friends. What's that expression? The blood of the covenant's thicker than the water of the womb. So I think I have a tendency to be closer to my friends because I generally feel like I can be more myself around them. Aside from my sisters, of course. I get along with them similarly to where I get along with my friends. Where I can just kind of be my full, wild, loud, crazy self. It's just because I like my family. I really love my family. But you can't choose them. I guess there's another expression there. You can't choose your family, but you choose your friends. So I have a tendency to lean more to my friends when it comes to that. And romantically, God, oh no, I'm a mess.
All right, is that where we're ending that one?
Well, what more can I say? It's another part of that previously mentioned self-improvement to be more open with feelings like that, but it's like, it's hard. That's definitely where a lot of my fears lie. I think I deal with stress fairly well. I've long suffered with anxiety, and like I've had OCD ever since I think a little bit after elementary school. Like, I had arthritis as a kid, and that kind of like fucked my perception of like mortality, I guess.
Same.
Yo.
I have arthritis now. I can't open water bottles. It's fun.
Fortunately, mine was juvenile. So now that I'm adult, I guess I've technically grown out of my arthritis. I'm not sure how that stacks. I just vaguely remember a doctor saying that once I'm like around 21, I should have grown out of it. I'm gonna go with that and hope for the best. I think I handle stress a lot better now, just because I've learned a lot of coping mechanisms. I've taught myself to calm down, deep breathe. I guess that also kind of leans into how I handle it. I try to find positives wherever I can, and when I can't, I just don't hold it in. If I'm mad about something, I'll let it out. Another thing I used to have back in my shitty middle school days was anger issues. And I think that came from one lack of understanding in my own OCD, because that was before I really knew what it was, and the fact that I would bottle up those feelings because I had a misconstrued idea on what being a real man was at that time. I'm just more open with it now. If I'm mad, I'll let it out. I'll go somewhere where I'm not gonna like upset anyone. I'll scream if I need to scream. Oh, that's how I end a lot of panic attacks. If I'm having a particularly bad panic attack, I go outside, since I live in the middle of nowhere. I take a deep breath and I just shout.
Wow, I wish that worked for me. I just do drugs.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
For the record, that was a joke. That was a joke, Mom. You don't have to call the cops.
I like creating things. I like Dungeons and Dragons and anime. I don't like ketchup. I don't like most condiments, honestly. I don't like... I don't like the scraping of anything against, like, glass or metal. It is akin to physical pain for me.
I feel that. That and, like, crystal nail files. I don't know if you've ever heard one of those, but those...
I have not.
They're like... It's like a traveling, like, blackboard, and then you, like, scrape your nails with it, and it makes... Oh, I can't do it. Terrible.
I like, just thinking about it gives me shivers, and hearing it, like, it is borderline painful. I guess this isn't really any anecdote or a hobby or anything. It's a weakness.
No.
Vibrations fuck with me. I don't know why, can't explain it. If I use vibration, if like vibrations go through my body for too long, like, let's say I'm using one of those electric weed whackers. If it vibrates for too long, I'm no longer able to feel my arms, and I can barely lift them.
So, like, if you were stuck in an earthquake.
Oh, God, I don't know.
Maybe that's less a weakness and more like a medical phenomenon. Maybe you should get that looked at.
I'm a video game boss. That's my glowing weak spot. My current career is, I guess, nothing. I am going to be invited back to Ross whenever it opens back up, but who knows when that's going to happen, honestly. Dream job, I want to be a creator. I want to make things. I want to make more podcast stuff. If I could make my living D&D, I would go ahead and do it. If I could do everyday D&D, I will just bathe myself in it. I envision my future to be very D&D related. I like chaos. Controlled chaos is what embodies me as a person. There's something one of my friends called me that I thought summarized me really well, which was predictably unpredictable. And I thought that was one of the best descriptors for me I have ever heard. It's just like, she's like, I know you're gonna do something wild, I just don't know what you're gonna do.
What do you generally think of personality tests?
I'm not quick to write off personality tests. I think there's some validity in them. I think there's also, like, you know, you come back and take it again like a few months later and you're going to get slightly different results most of the time. But that can also be attributed to the fact that you're constantly changing, even though you might not notice it on a smaller scale of like a few months. But it changes, like, depending on your mood, your taste, how you're, like, what you're going through. So I don't think they're necessarily wrong. I don't, follow them to the T, obviously. I don't think I've ever taken a personality test that was like, yep, this is me forever. This is me. This is who I am completely. Because people are too complex. I feel like it would have to be a really big, really specific test to be able to give you a detailed analysis of yourself. But for stuff like the Enneagram, I think those can be general guidelines and fairly accurate statements on who you are as a person, as long as you're willing to answer the questions honestly.
Austin, who I interviewed like right before you, he said the exact same thing, and I'm like totally the opposite. I've always been like, no one gets me, no one understands me, and knowing that like 1/9 of the population has the same basic like fears and desires and stuff as I do, that's like pretty cool to me.
Being one of a kind's overrated. I'll settle for 10 out of a million.
How do you feel about your Enneagram result?
I feel generally good about it. If I factor in like the top 3, which were all like over 90%. So. Because the first one alone, I was reading, I was like, I can see some parts of this, but other parts didn't really fit me too well. Like, type 4 didn't, or was it type 3? What am I? Type 3, like, one of their things says they didn't really care about, like, authenticity, or, like, relationships with people, like, genuine people, which I disagree with. I think I was like that for a time, back in my shittier years, but I people change. I'd say it covers me pretty well. They got my fears down, that's for sure. Somebody has that data.
Now it's going on the internet forever.
Ah, shit.
Alright, Connor, anything you want to say to the people? Like a sign off?
Don't forget to smash that like button, millennials!
Alright.
Thanks for having me on this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for letting me interview your basic fears and desires for the whole world to see.
That's part of my goal. I'm just going to get as much information about me out there. People are going to be able to make an AI of me.
You'll live forever. Internet culture is so fascinating because memes are like so colloquialized that you have to know every meme to like understand most memes nowadays,
And I like how it's also, I feel like it's fairly within grasp to understand like what's funny about it. And to me it's hilarious that like the older generation doesn't get why a floating head looking at a water bottle and it's like, yes, enslaved moisture, why that's not funny. It's because it's just so weird and random. Like, how could it not be funny? They're like, I don't get it. Well, what's there to get?
This is Austin, my good friend who I bought ice cream sandwiches and who is also my tea dealer. He was the first one I proposed this Enneagram podcast episode to, and the first one to say yes. He was also the first one I texted when I was drunk asking what his Enneagram type is. Sorry, Austin. He's a very 4 and I'm glad he agreed to do this episode with me, even though he doesn't believe in personality tests. Also, we did have to re-record his interview like twice, but it was fun. He was very patient with me. Anyways, here's the interview that gave birth to this episode.
I am an Enneagram 4, type 4, and my name is Austin. My greatest fear concerning my meaning in life is that I would not fulfill my meaning in life, and that I would not live an honoring life and a life pleasing to both my parents and to God and to my friends.
Countering that, what is your biggest desire in life?
My greatest desire is that I would live a successful Christian life, a successful life of Christian discipleship, that my life would be pleasing to God, that I would love and serve my neighbor as myself. The purpose of life, broad stroke, is, to use a cool Latin term, the Latin Christian writers use this term, the imago Dei, which is in reference to what humans are in essence. In essence, humans are little icons or images of God. And we are all invited to truly live in fulfilling our purpose in imaging God properly by accepting that invitation. So the meaning of life is to be like God in his character, which is love and forgiveness and reconciliation, all those things. So basically, to image God, I would say, is the ultimate purpose. And then as far as eternal destiny is concerned, our purpose is to believe in Christ for the free gift of everlasting life, and then enjoy God and praise him forever, to enjoy him forever, really.
How do you generally feel toward other people?
Well, towards those who I'm familiar with, I almost always feel very positive towards them. I tend to be fairly isolated, so I don't pursue new friendships or new relationships very often, so I'm kind of excluded in that respect. Yeah, that's how I view other people. I'd like to believe if someone approaches me and is like, hey, I think you're, cool, I'd like to talk to you, I'd be like, yeah, I'm down. But I just don't go out of my way to pursue conversations like that.
How do you generally feel toward yourself?
So that varies. It can be very positive or very negative.
Generally, because usually people, when they have like a sense of self, they either have like an inferiority complex or like a superiority complex or like imposter syndrome.
I think I have a balance of both, actually. So to some individuals, this is just the result of living by comparison in general. There's those individuals that I see that I'm like, wow, they are so much better than me, whether in physical appearance. It can be on various things. They're better than me. They have a better occupation, just a better life. But then there's also those, I admit to my shame, that I'm like, wow, they're not doing really well in life, and I'm kind of glad I'm not them. And so it depends. I'm going to be honest. I think there's the balance. And so that's why I try not to, in general, I just try not to live by comparison anyway, because there are those individuals above me in various areas of their life. There's people below me in various areas of their life. I have a positive view on relationships. Like, we have relationships for a purpose, and where people have skills and talents that I don't, and I'm in need of people. Like, I know nothing about cars, and if I didn't have people to which I could depend on to get my car repaired, then that would never happen for me. So there's that kind of, like, not to say like codependent, but I do depend on people. I depend on my family members, and that's not necessarily negative. I don't think it's an unhealthy dependence. And so I tend to have a very positive view, and I don't, of course, want to cause problems. And if there are problems, I'd like them to be addressed, and so that we can deal with them and move on. And so as long as with my family, our relationship is pretty positive. It's just we are individuals, and we all are almost, not all loners, but we all have our own stuff going on. So I wouldn't say we're very close, but we are, still love each other, still there for each other,
How well do you / how do you deal with stress?
I live a pretty stress-free life. I don't really have a whole lot of problems, at least direct problems. So, but yeah, I'm pretty stoic when it comes to negative emotions of any kind. I allow them. I don't suppress them, as kind of like the thing that people talk about. Men in our culture are either taught or they just assume. I think it's more of an assumption of what masculinity is to suppress emotion, or at least sad emotion, or like vulnerable emotions, not necessarily anger. So I don't try to suppress any of those things, but to express them clearly. And so that really helps if I can understand what the problem is. And like I mentioned before, if I can understand the problem, I can also understand if it's something within my control or if it's something outside of my control. If someone has a problem with me and it's not anything that I'm doing directly to hurt them, if they just dislike me, then I accept that. And that's not something that tends to bother me anymore from that point.
Describe yourself as best as you can.
Well, I was born at a very young age. I'm just kidding. No, that's a stupid joke. Austin is, despite the popular saying that says, I'm no saint, I believe Austin is a saint, and that's not necessarily by his own merits or by his own doing. But that's how I try to view myself, as someone who is sanctified, separated, holy, someone who's good. Not that he's that in and of himself, but made that. Austin is, I would say, creative, but that tends to be a, I guess, misunderstood word. He's creative. I wear a lot of hoodies is one thing. I wear a lot of hoodies. I like casual clothing. I don't like a whole lot of fancy clothing. And so I like to be very comfortable in my clothing. Currently, I work as a food and beverage server at Glen Erie Castle. I also live there, not in the castle, but on property. As far as hobbies concerned, I like drawing and writing and just relaxing. My perfect day would be like doing nothing, like staying in bed all day, because I need like a lot of recharge time, and I can't live like that, but it would be nice. I'm the introvert that likes to cancel plans, but then if you back me up into like, no, you can't cancel on this, then I'll go out and have a good time, you know? I would say, yeah, I'm as far as you're like, oh, introvert doesn't mean you don't like people. It just means you recharge yourself by being alone. I would say, yes, definitely. I do spend a majority of my time reading, writing to myself within my room, just going out to use the bathroom or to, cook some food or something. So, yeah, I would definitely say that's what I am. It's not necessarily one of my hobbies, but I do spend a significant amount of time on social media, something I kind of regret, I guess. I don't know. Because it's just such a taboo kind of thing, like, oh, you're always on that phone. It's like the new seat of the soul. It's like where we interact with the world and feel around. I want to be involved in pastoral ministry, type of teaching that's not like school teaching, but it's still teaching. You get up and you lecture every week. That's what I'm mostly reading on. I'm either reading the Bible or reading books about theology and other people's understanding of God and how we relate to Him and live for Him. So, yeah. Concerning the Myers-Briggs, which is another personality test, Carl Jung, who was a psychologist who was he helped kind of develop the Myers-Briggs. It came kind of after him, but it was based on what the principles that he taught. He said everyone is the exception. And so as far as my results, I am almost convinced if I took the test again like a week or two from now, and I always try to be honest in answering the question. So I don't know why it is, but I'm sure my number would change. I'm almost like fully convinced that that's true. I mean, I just have this spectacular view that human personality is just too vast, and it's shifting and moving, and it has those concrete things that I guess never really change, but yeah, so I think people have kind of like they have a profound tendency to project themselves into things. And so they'll read descriptions and be like, yeah, that's me. Or they'll read, we even do it in the whole, it's like why we like certain TV shows or even novels is because we tend to like them because the main character is relatable. We can read ourselves into that person and find that the story is more profound, and we get to fulfill kind of our hero fantasy within reading that or watching that certain movie. As far as the Enneagram description of how, at their core, type 4s feel like they're fundamentally flawed, I would say that is true, but also I hold that universally. I believe everyone is, and that's because of my worldview as a Christian. Everyone's fundamentally flawed, and also that they will never be able to be truly understood by other people. I would say I hold that as true as well. I think, but that again, that's for everybody, because I see in myself that I'm constantly changing. My emotions change from day to day. My thoughts, they say your thoughts tend to repeat day to day. I don't know if that's true. I don't think I've experienced that as true. And so the idea that we're kind of separated from self-knowledge makes me think, yeah, the idea that you could truly know someone, even over a lifetime, they as far as relationship advice, goes, like people suggest that you continue to pursue your boyfriend or girlfriend in the sense that you are trying to like still get them to go out with you even though they already are. And I always thought, like, that's so profound, because it is true that that individual is constantly changing. You're constantly changing as an individual, and it's not necessarily dramatic, like surface level visible changes, but as far as like what you think about, what you think is profound, like a song you like for a week you don't like in a week, you know what I'm saying, or it's not as beautiful, and so I do hold that as true as well, universally, that the true understanding I don't think is possible in this life, at least.
Anything else you want to say? Because we're basically done.
Well, I can't wait to see all the results for all of it compiled, and that'll be cool.
Yeah, of course.
Good night, everybody. This is Austin, Type 4 Gang. We out here.
Ready? It's recording. I'm a 5, and I don't need to introduce myself. So I'm just going to share with you some of the most Type 5 things I've done over the years. I always say being inside my brain is like constantly having 20 tabs open, but they're all running at the same time. Also, this one is going to sound weird, but in my head I have an imaginary world, and there's like a different, better, older version of myself. The story is always consistent, and sometimes I think up new plot lines and diverge headspace me into them. I literally visit this world in my head every night before I go to bed. I've always done this, and it's not like I'm delusional, it's just like a visual story in my head that I like to create and play out. Also, for fun, on my free time, if I really don't like a movie, I'll pick out all of the themes, motifs, symbolism, character development, and why those things were poorly executed, and how I would do it so much better. I'm an overthinker, like chronic overthinker, which tends to happen when 90% of your life is lived inside your head, and your brain is constantly focused on knowing the how and the why and the what of everything. Or this one time, a good 6 or 7 years ago, when I had to write an essay on the symbolism of what it meant that Atticus Finch was taking the car when he always walked, and I literally couldn't figure it out until 3 years later that it was because it showed a sense of urgency or emergency, and that haunts me. It haunts me. Anyway, I'm sure you guys get it. I fit my Enneagram. That's cool. Anyway, let's move on to my awesome interview. Hello, Internet. My name is Ephie, and I'm an Enneagram Type 5.
What is your biggest existential fear?
It's kind of like not achieving what I want to achieve, but not like success-wise, but as in doing things. Like not doing everything I want to do, or creating everything I want to create, I guess. I just am afraid of not having enough time to do everything I want to do.
What is your biggest desire?
In life?
Oh no, you wrote the question.
I don't fucking know. I just want to create things, be financially stable, have friends, be happy. Maybe have like a hedgehog and some cats. Like, that's it. It's my biggest desires. I want to create things and be happy. I don't really think there is a purpose in life, to be honest. I am kind of nihilistic, and like sometimes in airplanes when we're landing and like everything seems so far away, it just reminds me that anything I do is insignificant and nothing I do matters, and that is kind of comforting to me, knowing that nothing matters and there is no purpose to life. So that's just how I feel. I kind of like the nihilism. Like, if nothing matters, then why the fuck does it matter what you do or don't do, you know?
I think you just found a way to circumnavigate the whole midlife crisis thing.
My whole life is a crisis, so therefore...
Alright, next question.
I really like other people as individuals. Like, there are very few people that I meet, and I work customer service, so this is saying something. There are very few people that I meet that I cannot have genuine conversations with. I tend to like people, like, on one-on-one situations, but humanity is garbage fire, you know? Like, I've just experienced too many things because of, like, people being ignorant because of mob mentality, you know? That's how I feel about people. I have both imposter syndrome and an inferiority complex at the same time. I don't know how it works. Anytime I feel any semblance of, like, happiness, I'm like, this is a fluke and I don't deserve this, and like all of these good things that I am creating or doing, or things that I'm getting recognition for, even if they aren't things like fame or anything, but any accomplishments I have, I'm like, people are gonna find out that I'm not as cool as they think I am. But also at the same time, anything like bad anyone has to say about me, I just kind of take it and I'm like, yeah, that's like a valid criticism. Someone could be like, you're like a stupid whore, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right, you know? I have both. I don't know. Logically, I don't dislike myself. I think logically I have a lot of attributes that are good for society. Emotionally, I have both an inferiority complex and imposter syndrome. That's how I am. I tend to be very detached from all of my relationships. I'm like the kind of person where you could know me for like years and you don't actually know me. Or you could know me for like years and like live with me and still like not know what I'm thinking or not know what I'm feeling, you know?
I don't, but
I think that you think you know me better than you think you do, but like if you actually knew sometimes like the way that I felt or like the way that I thought when like things seemed fine, I have to hit like an extreme breaking point to like even in front of you be like emotionally distressed. Even with my family, especially with my family, because my family is Asian and we have a weird distant like hierarchical relationship. Romantically it's kind of the same way. Just I've been told that I'm a very hard person to get to know, and my life has been very interesting. So there's like a lot of layers to like my trauma. So
God, you're like the worst onion ever.
yeah, I know. You just peel back a layer and guess what? It's more trauma.
How well do you deal with
Yeah, I'm having a stroke.
Fuck, I wish. I wouldn't have to go to work tomorrow. How well do you deal with stress? / how do you deal with stress?
I don't, it kind of depends. The way I deal with stress is first I'll have an emotional reaction. Like it'll be very, very emotional and very intense at first. And then after I sit down, like I need space to like sit down and rationalize it. Yeah, I guess I deal with stress okay. Like I'm still alive and functioning. My organs work. So that, I would say like a solid 3 out of 10 is how I deal with stress.
Didn't know we were doing a numerical scale.
No one else has, just me. How I deal with stress? Usually when I'm like really stressed out and I want to avoid my problems, I work. I distract myself from my problems. Either that or like substance abuse. Maybe I shouldn't put that on the internet. It's either I'll like be really productive and I'll work really hard, or I'll just like fall into a pit of despair and it'll be like day drinking or like watching anime for like 12 hours straight. So that's how I deal with stress.
At least you're keeping it real on your own podcast. I guess that's what matters. Describe yourself as best as you can.
I'm kind of small. I'm very Asian. I really like tiny things that... My mom says I'm an enigma. I really like things that are small. Like, there's this orange that I found in a basket of oranges, and it's just on my dresser or my nightstand now because I love him and I can't give him up. So it's just on my nightstand. I like to do things, like anything creative really. It's not even limited to like one medium, because I do music, I do film, I'm now doing audio engineering. I'm not very good at drawing, but I do that when I'm stressed out sometimes. Like anything creative, I like to read and I like to write. I like cats and I like animals. I like tea, I like candles, I like the moon and the stars. I like hedgehogs. Hedgehogs are my favorite animals. And in Japanese, hedgehog is harinezumi, which is needle rat. And I think that's the best thing ever. Dislikes, I don't like berries. Or anything like... I don't really like anything like round or like berry shaped. I don't like it when people touch me. I don't like being in rooms with people when the doors are closed. I don't really like soda. I don't understand people that like constantly drink soda. Like that shit's nasty. I do a lot of music. I play a lot of instruments. I like to accumulate knowledge. I like to study Japanese. I like math because it makes me feel good to know that I can still do math. I like to take care of things like plants and stuff too. Not very good at it, but I like the concept. What else? Oh, I can touch my nose with my tongue. Like, for real. I can stick my tongue out and touch my nose. That's a talent. I have many things I want to do. I want to do music and this podcast and YouTube. And I want to maybe own a few businesses and have money and be comfortable. And always have things to work on. Because I like to work. I think this pretty much describes me very well. I think that me just talking is a very good way to figure out who I am as a person. I really like personality tests, and I think it's because I grew up my whole life feeling like misunderstood and like no one felt the same way I did. But I like the idea that there are, with the Enneagram, there's 9 basic fears and desires that people have. So like 1/9 of the population has the same basic fears and desires that I do. So I really like that concept. It's less lonely. So I do like personality tests. I don't really mind being categorized. Like, I know some people like to feel individual, and if they're like not individual, like if they fit into a category, they don't feel individual, but I like being categorized.
You like being stereotyped?
I kind of do. Who I am as a person is very consistent. My values are very consistent, and therefore I think my core desires and my core fears are always going to be consistent. I would never conform to a personality test. I do like looking at traits though, and like tests and like seeing myself projected onto them. I think that's cool. I'm very introspective. I like to think a lot, and I like to think about myself, and I like to think about my strengths and my weaknesses, and I like to think about how my strengths and my weaknesses and my biases relate to like your strengths and your weaknesses and your biases. It helps me empathize with you a little bit more and also look at myself objectively.
So that being said then, how do you feel about your Enneagram result?
I think mine is very accurate. From what I can recall, I definitely do kind of like the idea of success, but I would never like the idea of success for myself. If I was successful, I definitely would do a lot of things to give back or like create charities or, you know, because I have that feeling of like being very aware of other people's feelings and being kind of interpersonal. I do think it's accurate in that sense. Some of the things that aren't accurate, like not wanting success, but I do want success, but not like you want success, if that makes sense. I want to achieve things. I don't necessarily want fame and fortune, but I do want to do things or accomplish things. That's always been very important to me. I've literally talked less time than everyone else that I've interviewed, and I feel like I've been talking forever.
Alright, anything else you want to tell your own? It's your own fucking podcast. Why am I talking like this?
I hope people like me after all of this. And one time I dated a guy who said that he didn't know any Japanese but ni hao, but his cat was named Neko, which is cat in Japanese, and I think about that every day and it haunts me. Okay, that's it. Bye.
Okay, is that what type I am?
Yeah.
I don't even know what type I am. I'm just here like, yeah, let's do this.
Say hello to Maddie, my actual best friend, who left me right after this interview. I'm still salty about that, but I still love her. I knew Maddie was a 6, and when I found out for sure, I begged her to be in my podcast. I mean, kind of, if begging is asking her casually after she got us Chick-fil-A. Maddie is soft and funny, and definitely gives us 6 vibes wherever she goes. I'm glad she agreed to do this podcast with me, and I'm glad my best friend gets to be involved in my projects.
Hi, my name is Madison, and I'm Enneagram type 6.
What is your biggest existential fear?
Okay, like an item, or if like a...
Something existential would be something like, you'll never accomplish anything, or like,
oh, okay. Because my answer would have been taxidermied animals. It's probably definitely like never living up to the expectations that other people have for me. Because I feel like in my life, a lot of like my parents and like, I don't know, my friends and just people I know, I feel like they expect a lot out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly like terrified that I'm never gonna accomplish those things or live up to it.
What is your biggest desire?
Probably just to... Dang, I'm not ready for this. Probably just to like have a satisfactory life.
Yeah.
Be happy, do something I love, which is like very basic, I guess. I don't know, easy to please. Just like a cool house, a cool family.
Some dogs.
Some dogs, yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the purpose of life?
Probably to figure out what the purpose of life is, because I feel like everybody would have a different, I don't know, I feel like everybody's living for something else and for something for themselves, and I feel like the whole purpose of life is finding that one thing that, you know, makes it worth living.
How do you generally feel toward other people?
Oh, nervous. Is that like a good answer? Like I'm very nervous around other people, I guess, especially if I don't know them. But I mean, in general, besides being nervous, I mean, like, I feel neutral, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's fair. Alert. Yeah.
They stress me out. I just not a people person.
How do you generally feel toward yourself?
I don't know. I think it depends on the day for me, because there's other days where I'm like, you know, I'm pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I can get along with myself, but then there's other days where I'm like, oh, you're kind of really annoying. So that's kind of like, I guess it depends on how much sleep I got. But as a general picture, I think I'm pretty cool. I don't know. I think I'm cool and funny and interesting, I guess. I don't know.
No, you're cool.
No, thank you. Really appreciate that. I have probably like 3, maybe 4 really close people in my life, and I mean, obviously you're one of them, but you know, whatever. And I think it's really hard for me to connect with other people too. In general, like I may know a lot of people, but they never really get to see technically like the full real me, just because like I don't really feel comfortable or welcome. So like I definitely do have those like really close friends that know like absolutely everything, and then in general it's just kind of like I try to act like a normal person, I guess. And they think I'm normal, and then they stop, and I kind of let a little bit of a slip, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just."
I don't know. I had a moment the other day when I was like talking about my snails. I was like, God, I'm like weird. I'm like really fucking weird.
Yeah, especially because the people that I do know, I either work with or I went to high school with. And the people I went to high school with, there's only like one of them I stay in contact with because I'm married to him and I kind of have to. But other than that, I don't do people things.
Yeah. How well do you deal with
We already know the answer. Okay, so first of all, I experience stress on a daily basis because I do have an anxiety disorder, which took years to figure out and actually come to terms with. I don't handle stress very well, especially in like a public setting, and if it has anything to do with, you know what, if it just has anything to do with anything, I don't handle it very well. But most of the time when I do get very, very stressed out, I like to sit in my bed and rock back and forth until I relax. And then, I mean, after a certain point when I can actually get myself to calm down enough to be like, okay, well, you have to recognize the problem and you have to understand why it's stressing you out. So I try to walk myself through the steps of, you know, getting to the point where I can recognize it by like counting things I can see, like in the room that I can smell, touch, feel, or hear. And then once I get to that point, then I will definitely reach out to one of my close friends and be like, I need to talk through this because I can't just sit there and like try to mentally think about it. Like I have to sit down with somebody and be like, okay, so this is what set me off and this is why. And then this is how, if that happens again, I can kind of like combat it. Hasn't happened in a while where it got that bad where I had to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
you know, God bless antidepressants, am I right?
That's very productive. Wow.
Yeah, I try to do different things because, you know, therapists who can afford them, you find little things like that are really simple where you can use all of your senses and it grounds you.
I learned that one off of Tumblr.
Yeah, I learned that one off of Tumblr too. Look at us.
Describe yourself as best as you can, so like anyone that doesn't know you can kind of like get the gist of who you are.
Okay, so first of all, I don't like doing things. If I had the choice between doing something and not, I would choose not to do it. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily label myself as like a very lazy person just because like I do get things done, but I am a procrastinator. I don't like going into social settings, you know, like I'd rather stay at home with my dogs watch Netflix, Hulu, maybe go outside for like 5 minutes and then come back inside because it's too hot. I think I'm hilarious. Like, I think I'm so funny. I know a lot of good jokes, most of them related to memes and vines, but, you know, I like to indulge in that kind of stuff. I'm very, very into kind of like the supernatural world, so I love horror movies. I watch a lot of ghost adventures and ghost TV shows and those like kind of unexplained things, just because I feel like that part of our world just interests me more. And stuff. And I'm running out of things to talk about because talking about myself is one of my least favorite things to do. I am very musically inclined. I've played the violin for like 8 years now, I think. So that's something that I hold really close to myself because my grandpa had like a lot of influence in that, and he was like one of my closest people in my life. So once he died, I picked that up and just never stopped. I'm a business student. I want to work in human resources, which if you listen to the rest of this and you hear the things where I'm like, I don't do people, and now you're like, wait, why is she going into human resources? Yeah, I can't give you an answer on that. It's just one of those things that really interests me because you get a really cool mix of being able to put different people in different places and like lift them up and train them and make them feel confident in their abilities. And I think that's one of the things about it that like really, really impresses me, and that I'm really thrilled about it, that I will be able to be in that position where I can like help others get better in their careers. And oh girl, you get paid so much money. Yeah, going to human resources, guys, it's pretty good. But I mean, it's so much more than just the paycheck too. But I mean, that sure is nice. It sure is nice once you get that. Yeah. Anyways, and I mean, you also get a lot of the laws that have to go into it. Like, there's so much behind even just working a part-time job at like a fast food place that you don't actually understand until you get into it, and you're thinking about all the different things that the management team has to worry about on top of keeping their employees safe. And it's one of those things where I feel like there's still a lot of room for improvement too with the way that employers handle like different people and their lifestyles and like the things that they like. And you know, I mean, I know that a lot of people are now moving on past the whole like dyed hair, tattooed kind of thing being unprofessional, but I feel like there's still a lot of room in different industries that needs to I sound like such a nerd. Wow. Anyways, that needs to be improved in. And then like besides that, what else? Did I already mention I'm funny? I love animals. I prefer animals over people, probably because they don't talk. But I do have 2 dogs at home, Rosie and Ricky. Ricky thinks he's an actual human infant, so we might spoil him a little bit too much because he always gets his way. And I think that makes my husband very upset because he knows that I love this dog more than I love him. I do want to start my own business someday. I want to have honeybees and do a little honeybee farm. I want to open like a little bee boutique and sell like their honey and like, I don't know, like beauty products and different like food delicacies. I feel like just having like a bee boutique, like people would be like, ooh, what's that? Okay, what was the question? I don't even know what the question was. Common sense. She ain't there. No common sense in this one at all. Absolutely not. I think that's what makes me so funny, is because I will just do things without thinking about it.
If you want to be done now, you can.
Yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm done now with that question. I don't have anything else to say about myself.
What do you think about personality tests just like as a whole?
Honestly, love them because I think it's very important for us to understand like more about our personalities and the different aspects of them so that we can further understand how to interact with others. And I also think it's really important to learn about other people's personality types because then you won't take things like, oh, this person like doesn't like to talk, they hate me. But then you look at their personality type and you understand like, oh no, they're just introverts. They have a different way of communicating with other people. I just like taking them because I like to learn about myself.
I like to know what if you're single or in a relationship based off your baked potato choices.
I do. I think they can help with things like career planning. I think it's important because you just understand a lot more about human nature too.
Alright, this is the last question.
Oh, thank God.
What do you think about your Enneagram result?
So I was actually surprised because I thought I was what?
Me too.
I'm gonna find out I'm 6, and it actually makes a lot more sense to me because like I said, I only have 3 or 4 very, very close friends. And in the past too, like through high school and stuff like that, I did stay in some relationships with other people that weren't necessarily healthy. And it took me a very, very long time to come to terms with that, because I only saw the person in the friendship that we had. I would overlook all the bad to focus on the good. I am also very anxious, so yes, correct. And then as far as like the skepticism, I am always questioning people's motives. And sometimes it is hard for me to be like, oh wait, no, this person genuinely wants to be your friend. Like they're not pretending to like you. They don't secretly hate you. Like I think that all the time about like everybody. I mean, I've had so many bad experiences with really, really close friends that I get in the loop where I'm just like, oh, you know, it just keeps happening. So it's just me, you know.
Yeah, no, they're bitches. That's what
yeah, they are. Yeah, preach. But I feel like those experiences have also helped me to find the really, really good people that I love in my life, like you and Zach and Gareth, and that's about it. Those are my 3 friends. I just named my 3 friends for you guys. I feel in a lot of ways I've grown as a person because of those.
Alright, anything else you want to state? Like any closing lines?
Alright, well, I guess all I have to say is live fast, die young, bad girls do it well. Just kidding. I don't know why I said that, but I mean, you know, you get me. Okay, that's it. You can cut out the rat-ta-ta-ta part.
Okay, I was like, is that right? Like, awkward.
This is my old friend Tessa. We grew up together, and honestly, when she told me she was a 7, it really fit. Who we are now are way different than who we were as kids, but I was glad to see the core of her person didn't change. Tessa has always been whimsical, fun, and kind of anxious, if I'm being honest. She's always been stuck in between spontaneity and planning, between self-indulgence and self-reflection. I was excited to do this interview and excited to see how it would play out.
Okay, I was like, is that right? Like, awkward. Hi there, I'm Tess, and I'm an Enneagram 7.
What is your biggest existential fear?
My existential fear. It's a funny word. Failure. Letting people down. Like, I have a really hard time if I mess something up, or like if I do something wrong or don't successfully accomplish something. Also, whenever I let people down, it's like a really big thing for me. Like, I have a genuine fear. Like, in the military, we have what's called counselings, which you do something stupid, then you get a negative counseling. And the thought of getting a negative counseling actually gives me anxiety. It's kind of like getting yelled at your parents. Like, I used to not get yelled at as a kid because I was so paranoid and so scared to get yelled at that I would just act like a perfect little child when my parents were around.
What is your biggest desire? Countering that.
My biggest desire? To be happy and like have a family of my own, actually like genuinely be in a happy relationship with kids that are actually happy, and have a bunch of dogs and cats that I can cuddle all the time. Honestly, I feel like the purpose in life is different for everyone. Coming from my belief system, really, as a pagan, I believe that if you don't fulfill your life's purpose on earth, then you're going to be reincarnated with a second chance until you have met your life's purpose. I don't think anyone has the same life's purpose. I think some people are here to make the world a better place, and in the more active way of environment or by helping other people, or it could be more in like the political government realm, if that makes sense. I just think it differs, like it's different on anyone, and I don't think you can ever know exactly what your purpose in life is. I think it just kind of happens.
How do you generally feel toward other people?
Kind of depends. I like to be optimistic with people, and I like to assume people are good people when I meet them. I don't like to just look at somebody, even if somebody like looks or comes off a little bitchy when I first meet them or a little rude. I try not to go off of that. I like to always see people who they actually are. I tend to be a little anxious though, meeting new people. It depends. If I'm in a group setting where there's a lot of people and I don't know anyone, I'm probably just not going to talk to them. I'm just going to be there until they talk to me. Vice versa though, if I'm in a small group and I maybe know a couple people, but there's one new person, I try to be very inviting with them, and I'm always more extroverted at that moment. So it kind of just depends on my surroundings and how the people are.
How do you generally feel toward yourself?
That's a day-by-day thing. Just kidding. I kind of have my ups and downs. There's definitely time frames where I feel very down on myself, and I feel very like negative towards myself and I'm not successful, I'm not accomplishing anything I want. This past spring, when I saw a bunch of people graduating college that I went to high school with, it kind of brought me down because I was like, oh no, that should have been me. Oh, I should be getting my degree too. And all those things. So like I went through that phase, but then I finished my associates and I was proud of myself and I had a high. And so I was feeling really confident and really good about myself. But it definitely just depends. I feel like it normally hits at the same time every year. It's like this kind of roller coaster effect where I'm doing great and I feel great about myself. I'm like, oh, you're awesome. You're doing great. You're motivated. You're pushing through. You're reaching your goals. And then something will happen, like those little sidetracks, you know? You fail a test or you move to somewhere new or plans get canceled. And then that's when I'll start to like feel down myself. It's just kind of like you're not good enough or nobody loves you. But I'm kind of up and down. Very much so.
How well do you deal with stress / how do you deal with stress?
It depends on how much stress it is. So if it's stress, a lot of stress coming from a lot of different places, that is something that normally I take really hard and like it hits me, and that's normally kind of like a spark that causes me to go into a depressive episode, and that it can like really bring me down. And it's really hard for me to figure out how to deal with it, especially when there's a lot. I tend to freak out, and normally it goes on like that until somebody I'm close to or one of my coworkers notices something's going on, and then they talk to me about it. And then once I talk it out and I sit down with somebody, it's normally I can figure it out. For normal stressors, like those once in a while stressors, like looking for a new house or trying to find a new school or just coming up on a new training or something like that, then I'm normally able to deal with them pretty well. I'm a very stress-motivated person, so if I have a timeline for something, I actually work harder and I work better for it. So once I get stressed on a certain thing, I tend to actually bust more on it and I'll plan it out. I'll write it all down. I'll look it all over and I'll go step by step until I reach it. It's as long as I don't have an overwhelming amount of stress actually pushes me to be better in a way. It's kind of like motivation to me. For me, it works. So who I am, so I'm in the military and that takes up most of my time. It's definitely not an area that I want to stay in forever, but it's not an area that I hate. It definitely makes it a little bit harder for me to focus on my other goals and my other wants and desires and everything. But it also pushes me to be better and like learn more too. Like I'm kind of back and forth or like not fully solid, but I know my end goal in life is to be coaching cheer, like preferably high school cheer, maybe a little bit of competitive, and working with youth. If I have the chance one day, I would love to be able to start my own nonprofit sports program where you offer special classes for kids who don't have the money to pay. Like you have generic classes, that are just the prices to keep everything running, but I want to be able to make sure that kids who don't have that chance can do it. Because I know like the YMCA has programs where certain families, if you're low class families, can get paid and like there's a certain cutoff. And I remember when I was a kid, my parents couldn't put me in a lot of those things because we were just over that cutoff. So we didn't have the money when I was little to fully embrace what me and my brother really wanted to do. So we had to kind of pick and choose all the time. I didn't get to do 2 or 3 gymnastics classes a week, which could have been very beneficial for me in my gymnastics and cheer career. I could only do 1. And then I was allowed to do dance later on, but then I wasn't allowed to do dance and gymnastics and play on middle school teams. That seems like not much, but for a highly athletic and highly competitive and motivated kid, that can be really hard. And I don't like seeing kids who don't have those opportunities. And along the high school front, I want to be able to help kids who don't have the resources or know how to apply for college or get scholarships or anything like that. I always wanted to help them in those worlds. Besides that, I love yoga. Yoga's a big thing for me. And I recently started doing pole dancing because that's fun and it's a workout. I just love to go out and be adventurous, go on hikes, go paddleboarding, go snorkeling. Where I live, I'm capable of doing that all the time. So It's helpful. I like to be very connected with nature. That's something that I like. So I like to, if I'm going to read, I tend to go outside to read just because I feel more at peace and it's more comforting. So I'm pagan. I'm Celtic pagan, so I'm a druid. It's very different than some other religions. A lot of people don't really understand paganism. It's not like I don't go around and like praising to all the gods all the time. Yes, I communicate with them and I talk to them and I ask them for assistance or help with something. And whenever you get assistance or help, you give them something in return. So that's kind of really helped develop me as a person in a different way, a different kind of spiritual way. In paganism, it's a community of a different kind, and helping people can be really big, and even like looking out for each other is different. I tend to like do like tarot cards. I love learning with tarot and being able to do tarot readings for other people. I'm like a crystal addict. I love to collect all my crystals, especially like for crystal magic, because that's crystal and candle magic, just because it's more of a magic that I enjoy, and that's kind of really important. But don't get me wrong, magic's not like it is in any show. It's really just grounding yourself and using energies around you to try to manifest things. So like not manifesting like an object, manifesting good luck, manifesting love, manifesting positive outcomes, things like that. Yeah, I think that's probably the most about me.
What do you think about personality tests in general?
I think they're fun. Some of them are very accurate and I think can be really helpful for people who are going through like therapy or having issues. Like it can really help them learn more about themselves and like find more things that can help them. And especially if they're going through something hard and they are going to like therapy or something, I think it's good. There's certain tests that can be really good to take prior because a therapist can look them over and it can help them relate more and figure out what's going to help you based off your personality, because everybody's different. We're not the same. They're not always perfectly accurate. That's why I like the ones that have a bunch of options and tend to have like, here's your generic area, but there's like subcategories in it. Or like you may be 90% this, but you're about 10% this. I don't know. I think they're kind of cool though. And they can help you develop yourself more as a person too, because it can show you where your strengths already are and your weaknesses are. And you might already know, but I know for me personally, it can be hard for me to really sit down and think, oh my God, what am I good at? What are my weaknesses? So it can kind of help that. But vice versa, there are some personality tests out there that are just trash. It's just dependent,
Just like a BuzzFeed quiz about like what kind of croissant are you is probably not going to help you out very much, but
as much as I love those quizzes, no. Knowing your Harry Potter house might help though.
What do you think about your Enneagram result?
Oh God, I can't even remember what the actual description thing was.
Oh, I can tell you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Can you tell me? Literally the amount of accuracy that is for me just kind of killed me. I have an Excel spreadsheet of all my different options for career paths, how to get to them, what needs to happen by when to accomplish that goal. And there's like 10 of them, all side by side with different. And I have like little decision points of like, oh, here's in your life is when you need to decide if this is going to be your long-term career or not. I live by Excel spreadsheets. I don't know. I'm a planner. I can go through physical pain. I'll tolerate. I'll live it. Like whatever, you can heal. But I definitely like that internal pain. I don't take well, and I tend to run away from it as fast as I can. Oh yeah, the distractions thing too. That one's really big. I distract myself with lots of things. If I'm sad or something happens and terrible, I just ignore it and I drink alcohol, or I go to the beach, or normally drink alcohol. I'm not an alcoholic, I swear. I only drink on the weekends.
Sometimes Tuesdays, but that's fine.
Yeah, I might have drank on Monday. It's okay. But yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. You were like, yeah, I'm a 7. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, okay. Do you want to say anything to the people before we go?
Bye, people. I'll probably talk to you again.
That's fair. Okay, bye.
No shit, fell asleep for like 5 to 10 minutes in the middle of my German lecture. I was just really tired. I've been at this shit since like 9:30.
That's very Enneagram type 8 of you.
Never don't stop.
Okay, never don't stop.
Someone will appreciate that.
I'm definitely excited for this one. My boyfriend Elle, who you might be tired of hearing about, but I talk about a lot because we literally live together, is a type 8. He is driven, hardworking, kind of indifferent to emotions, and is definitely an 8. I love him to death, and we bring out both the best and very rarely the worst in each other because both of our personalities are so intense and headstrong. Nonetheless, he's funny, personable, and cares a lot about other people. Also, I want to add that he's working very hard on understanding his own emotions and the emotions of others, and I'm proud of him.
Hello, my name is Leo, and I'm an Enneagram Type 8.
What is your biggest existential fear?
Probably something like not achieving my life goals or what I consider success.
What is your biggest desire in life?
Besides success, probably the ability to do just whatever I want whenever I want to, such as like through monetary gains or however, or maybe just success in general. I'm kind of a fucking dork, so I want to be able to go like fly to Texas and drive tanks and shit, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I know because I know you.
But that shit's expensive.
What, in your personal opinion, is the purpose of life?
Whatever you want it to be. Sorry, is that a cop-out? Life in of itself has absolutely no meaning, besides from the meaning you give it, in my opinion. That being said, whatever you want your meaning to be, go for it. It still sounds like some sort of shitty cop-out, or I'm reciting some, like, dollar store Plato novel, but that's really what I truly believe in. Some people's life meanings are to help others. Others are to just see how much wealth they could collect at once. Others are to persuade you why the fuck that's wrong.
I have a feeling you're not going to like this question.
How do I generally feel toward other people? My honest opinion is other people on an individual basis are typically benevolent. Most people are decent people. The general public are a bunch of fuckers, though. So you gotta keep that in mind. The people who make up the mob might be good people, but it's still an angry fucking mob.
I mean, I agree. I mean, and with less vulgarities, but like, the general sentiment, I guess. How do you generally feel toward yourself?
I think I'm pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like I could do better in a lot of shit, but then people are like, oh no, you're doing great. But I feel like I could do better.
Is that the end of the answer for that one?
Yeah, let's make that the end of that answer. I feel like my relationships with other people, just in general, are not usually diving deeper than the surface level for the most part, up until a certain point, because I do feel like I use the word friend to mean such a large array of things, personally. Like guys who I almost never talk to outside of work, or even customers I see on a regular basis in work, I'd call them friends, but I don't know who the hell they are. That being said, I feel like that's more layers to that for me, because everyone could be a friend, but it's what type of friend. Are you a close friend? My close friends I know on a very personal level, and I think they know me on a personal level as well. Whereas all those, just people I see at work, I may know, what's going on in their lives, their families, just general knowledge about them from all the times I've seen them, but not who they are. So that is multi-tiered for me. No, I either know you very well and you know me very well, or it's very surface level, but either way I consider you a friend. I wouldn't say I make too much of a differentiation between a friend I've had for a long time who knows me very well, or like my family or romantic relationships, just because all of those types of relationships require the people and yourself to get to know each other very well. I mean, family by proxy. I'm not saying that is a negative thing, though. One thing I would say, though, is with romantic relationships for me personally, I would definitely get to know each other a lot better.
Is this like a diss? I can't tell if you're saying like you wish you knew me better before we had a romantic relationship, or that because we have a romantic relationship we know each other better.
No, because we do.
Okay.
We've been friends for fucking ever, dude. Chill. We're to the point of knowing each other in a romantic way without being romantic. It was weird. Like, we just knew each other very intimately. Personally, I deal with stress very well. Oh, shut the fuck up. I do. Better than you.
You're just mean. See, this is you not handling stress well.
I handle stress... Well, okay. Maybe I just handle stressful situations really well, but maybe stress in of itself, I just get like angry Now, I feel like if I am stressed out, that I do get just irritable, but I deal with it in a productive manner while being irritated. I might get irritable because of it, but I use that irritable energy to be productive, to fix it, to turn it around, eliminate the stressor, and then it just goes away on its own.
Describe yourself as best you can in as much detail as you can.
Likes. I don't know. Likes is hard for me for some reason. For me, I guess things I like would be downtime, relaxing, not feeling stressed or like I'm missing something or like I have something to do, something that's looming over me. I hate that feeling. That's not likes. I immediately just jumped into dislikes. I told you this would be hard for me. Things I like. Alright, we're gonna actually stick to things I like. Dig Porsches. Louis Vuitton's pretty fucking cool. And I also enjoy the feeling of productivity. Definitely like history. All that stuff's pretty cool. Specifically the First and Second World Wars are kind of my jam. But that's a weird fucking way to put it. Really like specifically the armored units of those wars. I think just tanks are fucking cool. Like most kids want to be like pilots or something. Flying's cool. Nah, son. Tanks are where it's at. Other than that, I don't know. There's just there's like a wide variety of things I like, and I kind of just bounce from one to the other whenever I feel like it. Dislikes, the general public, crowds. I don't like bars. I just don't like the large amounts of people in one space at a time. It freaks me out. Hobbies. A lot of video games. I usually don't go for any high fantasy games most of the time. I usually like historically based stuff. I'll make an exception for like Skyrim and for Witcher. Yeah, Witcher. Those two are fucking wild. I love those. I collect a lot. Just like First and Second World War stuff. Shit gets expensive, but it's totally worth it. It's gratifying. It really is. I have been learning German for like 3 years now on my own. I finally just decided to take a college class, and it's been the easiest damn thing I've ever done. I do still enjoy the language, and helping other people in my class has actually given me this weird teacher-like satisfaction I never thought I'd appreciate. I have a lot of interests, but those are kind of the main ones. Talents, language, probably finance and business, I would say. Stocks. Stocks would be a hobby too, I guess, but...
You're probably the only 22-year-old that's like, yeah, stocks are my hobby.
Stocks are fun, honestly. Current jobs, I work at a franchise called Postal Annex. It's a private shipping company. I really do enjoy it for the most part because I have the freedom to, well, at least at my store, kind of just not be stressed about it. Like if I have to call off, it's not this huge anxiety-inducing problem like it would be at places like King Supers. I'll call you fuckers out. I hated that place. My dream job? Honestly, a dream job, pursuing my current degree as an international business major, would be anything where I get to use my German language skills, or perfect them, I guess I should say. I want to become almost native fluent at some point. Anything specific though, that would be probably something World War I or II related, hopefully with vehicles even. Either of those would be pretty cool. How do I envision my future? Lots of cool shit, cool cars, in a medium-sized house that I don't have to work so hard to clean. I like things very clean.
What do you generally think of personality tests and why?
I do think they're accurate, just because they could be used to identify your skills and weaknesses. It's a personality test. It's not like some made-up bullshit. Some psychologist, someone whose degree is in this actually did help construct it, so therefore it's just another tool.
How do you feel about your Enneagram result?
It's accurate. I'm pretty okay with it. I do see myself, or have been shown to be more of a leader type than a follower, but I also do know my place whenever it's not necessary for me to lead. My Enneagram type was pretty accurate. The whole leader thing was something that I kind of saw coming, but some of the other portions of it were a little bit more surprising to me.
Anything you want to say to the listeners of this podcast, like a sign-off, anything?
I almost just shouted drive fast, eat ass, but keine Gnade, meine Kinder.
Finally, we have Kira. Kira is also a part of the Awkward Segway cast and is Connor's older sister. Kira is so kind and fun and very conflict adverse. When she messaged me and said, I don't know, I think I'm a 9, my first thought was, oh no, you're definitely a 9. This year we were supposed to go to RTX, which didn't happen because Rona, and when Airbnb denied refunds for dates after April, Kira politely asked the guy to please send us our money back, to which he said no. To which Ella then promptly took over because Ella's not anti-confrontational. Kira is nice and bubbly and I love her honestly. Not to mention Kira's interview was so easy and just fun and smooth.
Hello, my name is Kira. I'm an Enneagram type 9.
What is your biggest, existential fear?
I've got plenty, do not worry. Probably that I don't have any, solid goals. And I think my fear is that I'm not going to be able to find one because I do the bouncing thing where it's I'm going to do this. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to do that. And I have a fear that I'm not going to be able to pick one for my future. And so I'll just be bopping around with nothing until I'm dead.
What is your biggest desire in life?
I'm going to say it's related to the fear that I can find a goal, I guess. I'd like to have a career that I enjoy and that also makes good money. But mostly that I enjoy and have a good time doing. I just want to be fulfilled.
What, in your personal opinion, is the purpose of life?
Ooh, this is an intense job interview. I think your purpose in life is, I'm gonna say to find your family, to find the people that help complete your life and make you happier, so that you're surrounded by friends.
I like that. You're the only one that said that.
Yay.
How do you generally feel toward other people?
I feel like I'm pretty trusting and positive towards other people. I just believe that they're gonna be nice. I don't just assume someone's gonna be mean to me. I think I see the best in other people, almost to a fault.
How do you generally feel toward yourself?
It kind of fluctuates. Generally, I think I'm pretty all right. I know my skills. I'm not always super down on myself. I know that I'm good at some things and could be better at many things. It kind of just depends on where my mental state is for the day. This past week has not been great because it's just been me going through all my crafts and different hobbies that I've collected, and I'm oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm useless, but I know I'm not. I'm all right. I think I'm all right. I think my relationships with other people are usually very intense, pretty much with everyone. It's very lovey. I don't know. I'm very touchy with everybody, and I'm very close with my family and with my friends on just a weird level. I don't know a lot of people who are as close with my family as we are. I don't know how to explain it in words, but I just always have been super intimate in all of my relationships, and not necessarily in a sexual way, but just very deep with everybody almost immediately. I don't know. I share everything with everyone. I don't really keep secrets from friends or family. I don't know how to elaborate on it.
How well do you deal with stress / how do you deal with stress?
It varies. Not well, honestly. I feel there's a part of my brain that I'm almost always incapable of taking it seriously until it's too much, and then I take it all at once and I cry for maybe 2 days and I go, okay, well or I'll just ignore it. I deal with it usually lots of crying. I stress eat and I stress bake. Any kind of drastic I shaved part of my eyebrows off, or I bleached my hair 3 days ago. I don't know. Any kind of little control thing I can do over me is good for my handling of the stress. Anything I can take control of and be oh, look, I did this. I'm in charge of my hair. Look, why would I be stressed? I can control things like this hair. I don't know if it's the best method.
Describe yourself as best as you can in as much detail as you can.
Start off, I'm gonna say big Hufflepuff, very big Hufflepuff vibes. Most people know Harry Potter. I'm the embodiment of a Hufflepuff. I'm really clumsy. My favorite color is yellow. I don't know if this is too specific or not like a detail, but I like when, you know, when you use dish soap and you put it on the sponge, if you squeeze it afterwards, a bunch of bubbles come out. That's like my high. See, I work at a spa. Not the fun part, but it's still nice. It's relaxing. I'm really into skincare right now. I did a lot of theater. I'd love to be continuing to do that. We were getting ready to perform a show before all this stuff happened. It was literally like the week before opening night. I like art. I like flowers. I don't like the color orange. Oh God, I hate the color orange. I like doing crafts, any kind of crafts. I have a sewing machine that I just got. I do embroidery. I'm learning knitting. I make bread. I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't really enjoy meat. But not like for any specific reason. I'm just, I don't have like a legitimate thing to be like, oh, I don't do this because. It's just that my brain is still like sick sometimes. I like Christmas lights. I don't know if you can see them, but I have them on my wall. I like Christmas lights nonstop. I like winter and cold times. I just cleaned out my closet because it's summer now, and I have about 60 sweaters on my couch that need to get packed, and that's not all my sweaters. I kept some because maybe it'll get cold this summer. I like cooking shows. I watch a lot of cooking shows. It's like my default is either dumb cartoons or like Cutthroat Kitchen or Chopped, just to have like background noise. I know I dislike plenty of things, but nothing is like bopping out of my head right now. I'm super indecisive. I do not make decisions on my own. I have this friend and she does the same thing. So we'll just call each other and be like, hey, quick, what do I want for dinner? And we'll go, Zaxby's, thank you. And then we'll hang up and that's it. I like plants. I started an herb garden today. I can see them right now. I have 4 succulents and 4 herb plants. I would like a nice job. I don't know. Well, okay. So I either want to be a pastry chef, an esthetician, or a hairdresser, which all seems not super stable, but I would like to just enjoy what I'm doing. I want to get married. I for sure want 1 child, maybe 2. I iffy on that one, but at least 1. I would like to be like not content. I don't know. I just want to enjoy life and like where I am. Once I get like a base plan, I'll have a more specific goal. Like I want to be happy doing this.
Any stories you want to tell? Kyle told me about how his dad almost lit the basement on fire once because he was trying to show him not to mix fire and gasoline.
Oh my God. I genuinely am so surprised at how alive Kyle is sometimes. So I do a lot of theater, and my first show I ever acted in, my defining moment on stage, it was not impressive. I played a squirrel in a candy bar. And then during like, I think it was our first performance as the squirrel, we had these big ass like styrofoam tails covered in fake fur, and they had to be secured in with like a rod under our costume. And the girl who did mine did not do a great job, and it just fell off in the show. And I had to like pick it up and just like, I just started petting it. And my director was in the wings like, do something. I was like, I don't know. This is my first show and I'm a baby. I was like 14 years old. Everyone called me Gimpy after that. Gimpy Squirrel for like a year, which was fun. They did it out of love, I'm sure. But I still did theater after that, and that just stayed with me, and I will never forget that. I will remember that tale until my deathbed. I kept it in my closet for like 6 years.
I love that story. It's my favorite story. What do you generally think of personality tests?
I didn't used to really be super into them, but I guess as I got older, I got more like into them. I think I find comfort in having a little label saying like, this is why you do this thing. It makes me feel more secure in what I do. I remember doing like some color personality test in psychology, and they like grouped us up, and it was like orange and gold and blue. And I was orange and orange is like the chaotic one, and we had to make flags, and it was nice because like everyone in this group is very much like me, so I fully believe most personality tests, which I don't know is a good thing or not, but I get into it.
How do you feel about your Enneagram result and why?
I like it. I feel like, honestly, I had to reread it because friends got really into these, and she like sends memes all the time, and I could barely remember my number. But like reading more into it, it did fit me. It was like, hey, you don't really accentuate your strengths and stuff. You're always like, oh, well, I might not be that great at this, and you need to realize that you are. I fully see this, and I understand how it fits to me. My mom, because she doesn't really know what these are, she was like looking it up because I told her what we were like, how you were doing the interviews and everything, and she's like, oh, so like 9s like don't like conflict and confrontation and this and this, and I was like, thank you, Lori. I knew that, but I didn't say it because that would be more like conflict. It feels very real usually. I just want to be comfortable and happy, and it's like, you don't like change, and I was like, well, yeah, nobody likes change, but that's not true. It feels more accurate than my zodiac sign, and that's always been like my base. I'm like, hey, this I know. These are rules that I follow and I know. But it like reading it was just like everything had a target and it had my name on it, and I went, okay. It says that 9s, intellectual 9s, which I'm not saying that I am intellectual, frequently mistype as 5s, but 5s are smarter.
Oh no. Like, might be why we have a lot in common. Alright, so everyone that I've talked to has had to sign out. Connor dabbed. Anything you want to say to the people as your outro?
Praise hail, praise Dale. Oh, dang it, I dabbed too. Okay. Be gay, do crimes? I think that's my favorite. I want to get a shirt that says that.
After listening to all 9 interviews, I can confidently say that personality typing is onto something. Most people fit their type to a T. A capital T. I'd also like to mention, nobody saw the questions beforehand, and all answers were genuine, which means y'all basic. I'm kidding, of course. I feel like I have to say that every time, because sometimes my sarcasm is just not sarcastic enough. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who let me interview them. Thanks for being my guinea pigs and answering my invasive questions. The one thing I've learned from this, if anything, is that our differences don't define us. It doesn't matter our language, our race, our religion, our culture. It doesn't matter our personality type. I love all of the people that I interviewed, regardless of how different we seem to be. And this is going to sound cheesy, I know, but this is a lesson we should take with us for the rest of our lives. The people half a world away from us still only fit into one of these 9 personality types. The people that speak a different language than us still have the same fears as us. The people in war-torn countries that have problems that don't even affect us still have the same desires as us. That man in jail for theft is still a person that fits into one of these 9 categories. And even though our worlds are divided, our cultures, our personality types, that doesn't mean that we have to be. Personality typing is important for everyone to learn about their friends, to learn their desires, to learn how to love them. But it's also important to remind us that really, people aren't very different at all. We're all fundamentally the same, and I don't know, maybe that's a message that doesn't resonate with you. Maybe there is no message or moral to this series, but I hope, at least along the way, you learned something. Thanks for listening. As always, if you want to keep up with this podcast, you can follow us on The Human Pods on basically anything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok for the young or for the cool like me. That's at The Human Pods. If you want to follow me and see pictures of my snails and when I dye my hair every 3 weeks, you can find me at Ephemerality with an I instead of a Y at the end. That's EPHEMERALITI. I appreciate you, whoever is out there blasting your eardrums with my voice, and I hope you do something cool this week. See ya!